Um, Hello, everybody. I'm Charlie Fitzpatrick, and you're in the zone that is the visualization and analysis. Let me get my little guy here. The designing surveys for dashboards. We had in the last session, I went back and forth. I was so intrigued with what was going on in both sessions, I couldn't make a decision. I'm a fallen away Midwestern Unitarian Libra born on the cusp, so I just was going back and forth all the time between these two sessions, and they were wonderful introductions to working with ArcGIS Online, working with a Survey123 survey, and getting to know what it is that you can do with it. This session is really designed to take advantage of the experience that you have with Survey123 and get you thinking about preparing data in the way that makes it most useful in another tool called a dashboard that is part of the school bundle license. And people who are beyond schools as well, they have access to it, and lots of people have been using dashboards since the arrival of the coronavirus. That has been a big thing that lots of people have seen. So I just want to make sure that everybody is in the correct one, and this is going to send people over to the telling a story, presenting a topic, using story map. So this is your chance to escape and go do story mapping. That's a cool tool as well. I'm going to include a story map in here, but I'm going to focus on Survey123 and dashboard. And I'm going to do that walking through this little short presentation and bouncing back and forth. So I'm running this inside my browser. And Survey123, when I first saw it, I just said, "Oh my God, this is just the coolest thing!" Except, wow, you had to work it through this spreadsheet, and you really had to understand spreadsheets and know and do very complex, and anally retentive, careful work with a spreadsheet in order to get a survey. You can do it, but when the web browser version of creating a survey came out, it was just like, oh, this is my favorite tool. This is now one of my fave tools because I love lots of different tools, and I love all of these different choices. And I have discovered that with, as Spider-Man would say, and somebody, you're going to have to turn on your microphone and fill in the blank. With great power comes blank.
Great responsibility.
Ah, yes, yes. With great power comes great responsibility. You have all of these data types that you can choose and put these things together. And so I've done some presentations to students and teachers, and some of them have said, well, I don't really know which one to choose, so I'm just going to have 12 questions here, and they're all going to be single line text. And other people have said, oh, I'm going to have one of these and one of these and one of these and one of these and one of these, and they have one of everything. And so there are different ways of going after designing your survey. But the reason for doing a survey is you want to find out, you want to have a whole bunch of different entries, and you really want them to be precise. You want fidelity in your data. When I have asked students to put together a survey, the students have tended to just go for single line text, and they collect numbers and they collect time and they collect date and they collect everything. And I said, at the very end, you've ended up with a set of string fields, and you now have to be the computer and you have to go and interpret what each one of them is. And that's not going to be useful. So we should use them all, right? No, you don't want to use them all. And you don't want to just use one. You want to use the fields, the you want to design your questions so that it gives you data that answers what you are looking for, that presents the information so crisply and so well defined, well divided. I've got a set of numbers in this column. I've got a set of words in this column. I've got a set of 1 out of 4 choices in this column. It just makes life really easy. So you want to use those choices that will generate the data that you need. Now, one of the magic pieces of ArcGIS Online is that all of these things work together. The data that you create in this tool can be displayed in that tool, but they really need to be designed with both tools in mind. You need to be thinking about the end goal when you're back here in the design phase. I need to be looking out and saying, where am I? I'm out here. I'm back here, but I need to be thinking about being out there so that I'm designing for the future. I gotta step back and know what it's gonna look like at the end. This is the hardest challenge about this is design. And this is where lots of students, because they tend to think right now, this makes sense to me, I'll just put it in, and they're not thinking necessarily about what happens out in the future. So I encourage people to be, when you're working with students, ask them to go through and build a small little survey and get to experience it and get comfortable with it, and then start deciding, okay, how do I build a good survey? Well, let's just see for a second. There was an event that happened back in the springtime, and wow, we all went on lockdown, and I asked teachers from all over the country to give me some information, and this was what was in my head as I was designing a survey. I wanted to see a map of where the teachers were who were responding. I wanted to see a set of colors on the basis of what was happening in their instructional situation. School is underway on-site unchanged. School is underway online. School is underway, but minimal attendance. Maybe I can just biggerize this. School is off, but will start up online within a couple of weeks. School is off, may start up online more than 2 weeks out. School is off for the rest of the school year. School is off and we have no clarity. So I had 7 different visions of schools, and I wanted to know which schools, where were, what was the situation, and get people to respond. And I wanted to know how many there were in each one, and I wanted to see the focus of the respondents. Now, these colors don't match these. The map matches the legend, which matches this graph. There are only so many colors that you can have access to, and so it just auto defaults to similar colors, but these ones don't exactly match. So it's matching the school behavior rather than the respondent's focus or the respondent's grade band. And I also wanted to know, did people have access to school issued devices, or did students have access to devices at home? Did they have good access to home or nearby internet? And did they have teachers who were really skilled with teaching online? This was the most telling one. But wow, all four of these are designed in the same fashion. So this was what was in my head. And I ended up constructing a story map about this. And the whole idea of the story map was, oh, way long time ago, it was really hard to generate data easily. Way as far back as 2012, we discovered, wow, we can build some feature data services and then make it so that you can create data online by just clicking on a map. Nowadays, with a story map, with ArcGIS Online, Survey123, a dashboard, and a story map, it's really easy to tie these together. And I gave people this example. And I said, here we are in the coronavirus. Go ahead and click to see the story map. And this story map pops up. So this was, I tweaked it once in May to do one thing with it. So that's why it says May. But this was created way back in late March. And the whole idea was I wanted to give people a survey, let them respond to it, see the survey. Here is the survey that they could go through right in the story map. So it was asking a set of questions, and then here's the map that is based on their data. So I can click on somebody who I know up here, and this is a teacher in Big Fork High School. And one of the questions was, is there any additional information that you want to tell us? And he gave long ago in a galaxy far, far away, there's a whole set of characteristics that are happening at my school. And so this was a really powerful set of information that he had to transmit. Some other folks said, if I click on this, they said, additional information, here's a little paragraph, and some people gave one word. So I wanted to make sure that people got a really rich analysis out of this data, because this is such an amazing event when everybody went on lockdown. So here, I wanted to have a dashboard. And so this was created on the fly as people were looking at this and filling out the form. It was going directly into the map, and from the map directly into the dashboard. How do you design your Survey123 form to get the data to look like this? That's what this is about. This session is about, I need to think about my end goal in order to do the thing that I'm doing way up front. What am I going to want at the end? So you really need to be careful and thoughtful about this, but you need to understand the characteristics of Survey123 and of your end product here, the dashboard, what it is that you're going to be able to do. So let's go back here. So if you want to go in and explore this, and we'll come back because there is a little bit that I want people to see a little bit later. You'll get to this through EsraURL.com funwithgis 264. That's the blog that engaged the survey, going into the map, going into the dashboard. But let's look now at these surveys or these formats. So actually, I just want to pause here. I'm going to go back here to this one. Which elements do you think I ended up using in order to get some of that information in here? So go ahead, let's open up your microphones. If you see one of these choices and you want to say, ooh, one of those questions you could have used this choice for. Who's got an idea for how I could get some of the data that you saw in the dashboard? What would give me something like this, or this, or this? Who's got an idea? I hear somebody.
Multiple choice.
Multiple choice. Okay. And that's a thing that just sort of, it jumps out at you, doesn't it? Any other ideas? Everybody's comfortable with multiple choice?
I think you used a note.
A note, excellent. So we had either a single line text or multi-line text in order to get that long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
A drop-down menu would work.
A drop-down menu would work.
As
Okay.
would a rating.
As would, say again?
A rating.
A rating, all right. This is actually the really hard part, is what do all these things do? And I'm going to suggest that you actually create a survey and enter some data doing one with these, but not right now, because right now we're going to look at this and say, how do we make this work right? How do we generate a really good data set? So, and I'm delighted and a little bit threatened, nervous to see that one of my colleagues is here, and she's going to keep me honest on this one. She has worked with these tools well, but I'm going to give you some glimpses into how I see these data sets. So many options. Use the ones that generate the data you need. Which ones can dashboard use most effectively? When you look at this display, which ones seem like, gee, there's a hint here that is making this one seem like I really should pay attention to this one? What might these symbols indicate?
I'm trying to figure out if the red stars are better than the yellow stars.
Do you think that there, well, it looks like there are 3 red stars and 3 yellow stars here. But then I see some that have 2 stars and some that have only 1 star. And some that have a border around them. So I was trying purposefully to be a little cryptic in how I starred these. But the ones with 3 stars have special magic to them. When you're doing numbers, these are really powerful to say, this is a number field. And so I gave this one 3 stars. None of these other ones can do numbers as well as a number field. You can set this one as an integer. You can set it as a floating decimal point. You can set it as a number between -3 and +3. You can set it as a number greater than 1 with no end, but it has to be greater than 1. You can set it for something that's got to be between +7 and -7. There's so many things that you can do with this. This is a very powerful thing. What can you do with numbers at the end? What can you do in the dashboard with numbers?
Display them in bars.
Display them in bars. We could do that. And this is really where it's, what can I do with numbers if I get numbers generically? Can I, is all I can do is just a histogram? Could I sum them and get an average? Can I get a range? Can I get a histogram? Can I get a change over time? Can I do all kinds of things with getting some numbers out of this? This number field is very powerful. But hey, if 3 stars are going to the numbers, why is a single choice getting 3 stars as well? This is a little bit of Charlie vision here. Why does single choice get 3 stars, but a rating and a Likert and a dropdown, they only get 1? This is a hint for you. Aim at the single choice. When you're working with a rating, you can get a rating. How many stars is a functional number for a rating? How many stars, what do you want to choose from? How many stars would you choose to give a rating? Go ahead, sing out a number that you would use in a rating and expect good data.
I'd pick 5 because there's a middle and then there's an upper 2 and a lower 2. So you got to kind of declare.
Okay, 5. 5 is really common number, and 5 is the default in there, I think. You might go up to 7. How about a Likert?
You want to explain what that actually means?
A Likert, okay. You typically run into it with a, I disagree with this statement all the way up to I agree with this statement. And I might have 5 or 4 choices. And an example was rate this according to a scale. Low, medium, high, high. You're giving a scale for somebody to rate something or agree or disagree, or this goes from a range from here to there. These Likert scales and rating scales, they're sort of similar because you're giving a kind of a, on a scale from here to there, this one fits into right about here. So I think of the Likert and the rating as nearly identical. It's just that you can give something, hey, I like this one a lot. And the Likert one, you can really define what each element means. A single choice, how many choices can you have in a single choice question?
I can't remember, but it doesn't seem like they actually put a limit on it.
Correct. There is no limit on a single choice question. Well, then what is the difference between a single choice question and a drop-down question? I got 3 stars here and only 1 star here. A single choice is what you would use when you've got essentially sort of finite number of choices, something that you could type in. Okay, well, I got 5 choices. I got 4 choices, and there's no specific difference between the categories, or no value judgment between the categories. Usually, it's just, you know, which color do you like? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Okay, I'm going to put in 7 categories in here. I could type those in. I could make a drop-down list, or pick your school in the list of schools that we're looking at, the schools in the school district. Here's a survey going out to everybody in the school district. Pick your school. We have 230 schools in the district. Are you going to give somebody a single choice list that is 230 schools long? No. This is where you want to have a drop down that scrolls through. It's just one that you pull down. I can find them all very easily. A drop down is very powerful if you have lots of choices. But the magic of these 4, a single choice gives you how many answers in a question. How many can be ticked off here? 1. How many can you choose in a drop down? 1. How many can you choose in a Likert?
Thank you, sir. All right. All right. Cool.
1. Okay. So if you're all done entering your audio bits, go ahead and mute yourself again. The whole idea of these 4, single choice, drop down, Likert, and rating, you're only getting 1 option in here. You're only getting 1 answer. A multiple choice says, it's like, which of these foods do you like? Billy, can you mute yourself? That would be helpful. In a multiple choice, which foods do you like? I like pizza, ice cream, peanut butter and jelly, sushi, maybe not sushi, and crackers. Okay, I can choose all 4 of them. That's a little bit messier to deal with. So if you design questions that only give you a single choice, that's really magical. This single choice grid says, I want to ask a series of questions that are going to get the same style of responses all the way down the line. So this question set was 4 questions. This was a grid where the responses were low, medium high, and high. And I asked 4 different questions. What is the student access to school-issued tablets or laptops? I wanted to give people those 4 choices. Wait a second. Why 4? Why not 3? Or as was mentioned earlier, 5. 4, that's a funny number to pick. Anybody have a thought about that? Picking a number like 4?
It forces you to lean one way or the other.
Exactly. I used to teach social studies. I want to have people lean one direction or another. If you give people a choice of a middle, most people are going to pick, yeah, I'm in the middle. But if you say, you can't be in the middle, I've only got 4 choices here, and they're going to have to lean. Which way are they going? So I wanted people to lean 4 times. I wanted to ask, and so I wrote 4 questions following this single choice grid. So this is a really powerful choice if you're going to have a series of choices that are related, or a series of questions that are related to each other, and somebody can follow down the line of what's your comfort level with Windows, with Mac OS, with Chromebook, with iPads, iOS devices, with Android devices, low, medium, high, high, all the way down. Same thing. I've got 5 questions, 4 choices. That's a very powerful way to be able to compare things. So the single line text, you're going to have some things. Give me your name, give me the school's name, give me the street address, the city, things like that. For a drop down, I might say the state, which school are you, all those kinds of things where you're giving people a large set of choices, and rather than say have somebody spell things out, just pick it. That's a picker. Single choice is valuable to say, I want to give you one choice, one option here, and how you design this is up to you. Wait a minute, there's one other item with 1 star, and it's kind of a brown symbol here, down here in the ranking. Why? What does that mean? The ranking one is a really interesting idea, but right now it's not perfectly implemented. If I've got pick which things you like, pick which candidate you like out of these 5. Okay, that's easy. That's 1. Pick which candidate you would be comfortable with out of these 5. Okay, I might be comfortable with 2 or 3 of them. And sequence them. Okay, I want this one first, this one second, this one third, but these other ones I'm not accepting. Those kinds of ranking questions, this ranking style does not yet do perfectly, so this is going to be, they're going to be tweaking that in the future so that you can drop off the ones that you don't like to have in your ranking. And you can't quite do that yet. If you say, which of these 7 disciplines do you really enjoy? You're going to have all 7 in there. And they're going to be, number 1 is this, number 2 is this, number 3 is this, all the way down. So this is a hard one to deal with, but it's a really interesting one because you can see what you get with it. So all the way through here, you're going to need to think about, what's the task of this question? Is it clear? Can I give myself a special hint for the user to understand what I'm looking for? What format is this going to be in? If it's a number, is it going to have decimals? Is it going to be a high and a low, just a high? If it's a name, am I going to be able to write how many characters? I need at least 3 characters. I need no more than 10. That kind of thing. Are you going to give somebody fixed options like, these many single choices? Is it going to be a required question? Ooh, that's an important one. You're going to give somebody a range of things to pick from. Are you going to include other as a choice where they can either check it's something other than what I've done here, or are you going to give them a space to fill in an option? All of these things need to go into your mind as you're designing your survey, anticipating what you're going to end up with. So let's go back here. So the 4 items on the right-hand side, you can see were designed as a grid, a set of 4 questions in a grid. Here was a single choice, 1, 2, 3, 4 options. What grade band are you in? 4 options. No chance of other. What's your main content area? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 options. What's your instructional setting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but I didn't get anybody that chose number 1. So this is only showing that there were 6 choices in here. So you want to be designing these things according to your end goal. And this is where I'm planning ahead. That's what I want to do. So we asked in one of our presentations to GeoMentors, we asked a series of questions. And you can see going down the left-hand side, question number 3, I agree or disagree. I like to solve tech problems myself. I am familiar with ArcGIS Desktop. I am comfortable using ArcGIS Online. I could teach adults story maps. And I could teach adults data collection. Agree or disagree? Over on the right-hand side, I know ArcGIS Online organizations. I understand teachers' lives. Teachers prefer to make their own maps or to have somebody make them for them. I will be able to teach kids GIS easily, and I spend 5+ hours per week with kids. We asked agree to disagree, low, medium, high, high. How much do you agree with that? And you can go through these and say, wow, on the tech side, all of these GeoMentors, people who were comfortable with GIS, felt very comfortable with their technical prowess. And they can teach adults data collection, they can teach adults story maps. They felt very powerful. Oh, they know orgs, woo. I don't really understand teachers' lives too well. So this was kind of on the medium-low side here. What do you think, GeoMentors, teachers' preference is on making their own maps versus having maps made for them? Yeah, I don't agree that they like to make their own. I think they would rather have them made for them. I will be able to teach kids GIS easily. Oh, the GeoMentors thought they were pretty high up in that scale. What year did you leave high school? 1970. Yeah, let's go down here. 1970 down at the low end, all the way up to 20, looks like 2012, 13, something like that in here. So we've got a histogram for all of these people. We asked what year they left high school and the average year that they began working with GIS. So we needed a number. We needed a number that went from roughly 1960 to roughly 2020. We needed an integer. Same again, what year you left high school, a number, an integer between these spans. What we came up with that number, we can do some averaging. So there are all kinds of things that you can do when you get numbers in your data sets. They're very powerful things that you can do. Now, you've probably seen this by looking at this dashboard. This is the coronavirus dashboard. And you've probably noticed that down in the bottom, over on the left-hand side, you've got admin levels. So right now we're looking at countries, and then you can get states, and then you can get counties even inside of this. And so this is a very powerful dashboard because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different maps that are underlying each other. You can play with this to see the daily cases of the country that you're looking at, in this case, tied to that particular item. And you can go between one content item to another content item over here. The dashboard is really powerful, allows you to do very useful kinds of configuring with all these different kinds of questions. So now, with this background, with this set of explanations, let's think about a survey. Let's think about a survey that says, let's build a good survey for a dashboard using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. Maybe you might have a 7th question. Name. Okay, that's going to be fill in the blank, but there are going to be 2 things that you want to figure out with a name. 2 other things to think about. What will you need to think about if I'm using just name?
Sorting it, first name, last name.
Okay. So you might need to give somebody a hint. Is this first name? Is this full name? Is this last name? Is this required? So you're going to have, that's an absolute that you're going to have in there. Do I need to have everybody fill this out or not? Does it have some range? If you give, remember I used to teach 8th grade. So what happens if you give somebody a name field and you don't put an upper limit on the number of characters? It's going to happen. You're going to get the grand poobah, big kahuna, etc. title for somebody. Some joker will fill up all the characters that they can put in there. So think about how you want somebody to fill this out. So now I want you to take, where are we at? Take 2 minutes and write down things that you would want to put into the survey. How would you design your survey so that you could find sex or gender? What are the things that you need to be thinking about? Age, somebody's title, somebody's content focus. If this is, if you're asking about teachers, what people are they focusing on? Think of what goes in there for 2 minutes. Ready, go. And if you're clever, you're probably scratching this out on a piece of paper somewhere, even digital. All right, you're halfway done. How do you design each question? 15 seconds, figure out make your last decisions. Okay, this is great. Now, open up the chat window if you don't have this already opened. And the first choice or the first item that I want you to put into the chat is what type of question style you would put into the sex field. What question style would you use for sex? Go ahead, throw them all in there. Throw them all in there. Okay. Now, when I was in teacher school, this was back in the mid 70s. The teacher of our class said, you know, I learned early on that you need to be careful with the use of the word sex, because I put in my survey and I had a little blank for them, and I got M's and F's, and I got one that was a response of once in Bemidji. And so you need to be careful about how you design this. You want to get just the responses that you can work with. And you might not want to say sex, you might say gender. You might will you give people a choice? Will you give people an option that says prefer not to say? Will you give people a fill in the blank? There are all kinds of ways of thinking about that. Okay, all right, here's a new one. How will you deal with age? What question type will you use for age? What question type will you use for age? Throw it into the chat. Oh, maybe we need to give people some. What question type will you use for age? I want to go back to, oh, that's because I wanted to go back here. Yes. Now think about the number. So a lot of people have been saying number. Nobody yet has said integer. I know that there are some people with very young kids who will say, yes, I am not 4, I'm 4.5. And there are many people who are teens who will say, I'm not 16, I'm 16 and almost 17. And so think about, do you mean an integer? Do you mean a fixed format? Do you mean, what is it that you mean? All right, so the next question that we want, let's go down here. The next question is somebody's title. How will you ask people about their title? People are ready to rock and roll. People are making decisions here. All of these questions that you've been looking at are the hard questions about making a great survey. So I wanted to give you this opportunity to be looking at these. Once again, if you're interested in looking at the blog that wrote about the coronavirus and gave people the choices, that's EsraURL.com/funwithgis264. Go in and explore that. because at the very bottom, it says, here's the design process that you need to go through for this. So go back and take a look at the story, and it'll walk you through some of this design process. Fun with GIS 264, EsriURL.com/funwithgis264. All right, you've been a great group. I've been trying to give you puzzles all the way through here, and now it's time for us to go to a special gathering. Thank you
Yeah.
all for jumping in here.
Thanks, everybody. So we have 8 minutes before 11:30.